Michigan versus Ohio State. Ohio State has to make the drive out to Michigan and Ann Arbor. They literally built their stadium up to combat to be one of the loudest in the country because of this game. Like literally, that's just what they do.
That's how much this rivalry means to each of these teams.
That stadium was built for this rivalry. Fishing, give us what your prediction is, man.
I've been on the Michigan side a lot. I'm really tempted to change. This is very tempting. When you look at this game, it seems like Michigan's going to do what they've been doing. Mm-hmm. They're going to run it against Ohio State until Ohio State can stop it. It's what they've done the past 2 years, and Ohio State hasn't been able to stop it. And Ohio State's had a better quarterback. And Michigan's running backs have stayed the same in both 2 years that they've beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
It's just going to come down to if the defense can actually stop the run game. That's what's going to be interesting to me. Yep. The other interesting thing is they've got common opponents in Maryland and Penn State. And say what you want about Michigan struggling last week against Maryland. Ohio State struggled 3 quarters the same exact way that Michigan did.
They did.
They struggled the same
I said that. I said that game was going to be a little trappish.
Of course, especially being sandwiched in between Penn State and Ohio State, it's definitely trappish type game. But so I'm not trying to look too into that, but you do have to recognize it. Like we talked about JJ earlier, we got to see him do something, especially in this game. But it's just interesting. The one thing Ohio State does have is they played an outside of opponent of Notre Dame. But the whole thing is they played Notre Dame, Penn State, and Wisconsin and had issues. Somewhat.
Braylon Allen, what's cooking them before he got hurt?
And I just mean on lines of scrimmage, they've had issues because what I've always said, Michigan's been pushing Ohio State around, and Ohio State's defenses, their lines of scrimmage really are just way better this year. So it's gonna come down to up front, and if Michigan pushes around them up front, I mean they're just gonna run the ball on them, and JJ won't have to do anything. But on the other hand, Ohio State's defense is really good. If they shut down Michigan's run game, they could really run away with this game. So it's really hard to pick. Like I said about JJ scrambling, he's going to need to scramble in this game, if anything, just to help the run game out. But I'm going to take Michigan still. I'm riding with my word. I've got to see Ohio State stop them. I've got to see them stop these running backs. Last thing I'll say about this game is if you just look at both of these teams, they're extremely similar. Extremely.
Yep.
Really good defenses. Really good run games. Other than the wide receiver position, a subpar quarterback play. They both got 2 solid running backs, Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum, Mayan Williams, and Travion Henderson. They're very, very similar. And another point to make is so is Penn State. Penn State's really similar too. Bad quarterback play for all 3 of these teams, really. So, that's why it's just so interesting and so evenly matched to me. But I'm taking Michigan, like I have been all year. But this is game of the week for sure.
Ooh, I get to be last. Ooh,
I'm going with Ohio State. I said for weeks now that either Penn State or Ohio State was going to get them. And I thought one of them was going to suffer a loss. I didn't think that they were going to clear Michigan. You thought Penn State was going to give them a loss and then Michigan was going to come in and beat Ohio State. Or I thought Penn State was going to lose and Ohio State was going to come in. Mm-hmm. And they both had their implications. And I think that this was the worst of the two. Because I think Michigan would have came back and you probably would have made a move to beat a good team at Ohio State being ranked number 2, and they could have found themselves possibly back in position if a couple things would have went in their favor. So they were kind of like in a win-win situation. In this situation, it's even worse. The game that prepped Ohio State for this, and say what you want, but they beat 2 top 10 teams, and one of them was Notre Dame at the time. At Notre Dame at night. And you say what you want about Kyle McCord, but Kyle McCord had ice in his veins at the end of the game and won on that game. A lot of people like to discredit that. I'm not going to discredit that. And a lot of people want to say that Kyle McCord is trash too, but he's a game manager. I mean, it is what it is. And You got Emeka Ibuka, who's back, in the lineup. I believe the last couple of weeks. Marvin Harrison Jr., he suffered that little ankle injury at the beginning of the year. He's been still top notch. Travion Henderson is back in full effect. We saw a little bit of that last week.
Killed
Got one of the
Wisconsin.
best offensive lines in the game. And then their defense is a legitimate, if not top 5, top 3. And one thing that they were missing over the last couple of years was a legit defense, and now they have it. They haven't had this defense the last 3 seasons, and now they have it. They got the pieces together. What's the coach's name that came over from Oklahoma State? I forget his name.
Jim Knowles.
Yeah. Jim Knowles had one of the best defensive units at Oklahoma State, and it took him 2 years just to build those boys right back into prime. Took him 2 years to build Ohio State into prime time contention as one of the most feared defenses. We saw Michigan struggle against Penn State defensively.
Mm-hmm.
We saw them struggle defensively against Maryland. You're going to see them struggle again defensively against this team. And the thing about it, and I understand they had better weapons the previous years, but what they lacked last year, they don't lack this year. The one thing that they lack this year is a quarterback. But the one thing that Kyle McCord does is not turn the ball over a lot. As long as Kyle McCord does not turn the ball over, they win this. And I'm going to just put it like this. I might be crazy by saying this, but I think this is a 14-point differential game.
Yeah.
I think at the end, they're going to pull away. And you're going to see Marvin Harrison Jr. don't really say too much. I think you're going to see Marvin Harrison Jr. in tears at the end of the game. I think that you're going to see a Kyle McCord drive at the end of the game that puts him in primetime position just to throw another score up on top of Michigan, and you're going to see the life let out of Michigan. If not, if Michigan wins this game, I'm willing to say that they're the best team in the country.
Same. Whoever wins this is the best team, in my opinion.
Oh, well, asterisk. If they win this game in convincing fashion and JJ McCarthy looks good, I'm willing to say that they're the best team in the country.
Yeah.
It has to go like that. Because I still think at this point in time, there's a lot to convince me that Georgia or Alabama is not the best team in the country as of right now. Because I still think this Alabama team beats Ohio State too.
Yeah, you can't be one dimensional and be the best team in the country. You can't be one dimensional, one offense.
Yeah.
All right, Hayden.
I was going back and forth all week. If you remember from a few weeks ago, I did have a takeaway. Ohio State's the best team in the Big Ten. And I'm saying to it, I'm going Ohio State here. Now, like we said, these teams match up very well versus each other. Ohio State's passing defense is number 1 in the nation. Who's right behind them at number 2? Michigan. Ohio State rushing-wise is 18th. Where's Michigan? 8. So this game is going to come down to who can play better defense. Who's going to dominate the trenches, Michigan or Ohio State? And I'm going Ohio State here. Like Dante said, you have Kyle McCord, who don't turn over the ball. His first ever turnover this year was only a few weeks ago versus Wisconsin. We played him week 10 weeks without turning the ball over. That is insane. Mm-hmm. He can protect the ball. And Ohio State's strength is with Marvin Harrison and Travion Henderson. We saw them win the game versus Wisconsin. We saw them win games before together. Ohio State has a top 10 running back and a top 10 wideout on offense. Michigan only has that in the running back position. Ohio State's more two-dimensional than Michigan. I trust that. And by the way, Michigan's going to be without Jim Harbaugh this game.
John Harbaugh. Say it. You know you want to say it.
I almost said I ain't slipping. I ain't gonna slip and say John. You thought no, but they are without the head coach, and coaching is gonna be huge in this game. We saw Jim outcoach Ryan Day the last 2 years. Now that Jim's gone, that's a huge loss as well.
It's proven to be a loss. It sure is.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure about that, Hayden?
I am pretty sure about that.
I don't know, man.
You don't know?
Scared.
Why is that?
Scared.
What, you're scared we're going to be wrong and this man's going to get the edge over us? Oh, wait, that's funny. Fish ain't catch me.
Y'all should be scared. We're predicting bowl games. Anything can happen. You can fall off real quick.
Yeah, it's just so difficult because, like, I'm all about the what have you done for me lately, man, and strength of schedule and all that stuff and how teams prepare. And we've seen it over the years. And the only team that's been remotely good about having a kind of a mediocre strength of schedule and coming out of it is Alabama. But then again, they played in the SEC, which is way different than the Big Ten has been over the years too.
Like, let's be honest here. Arkansas would probably be up there with Iowa in the Big Ten West if they played.
Hold on, brother. Hold on.
Think about it. You got Illinois, Northwestern, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa. I'm forgetting a team. No respect to that team.
Rutgers.
No, Rutgers is in the East.
Oh, you said West.
Oh, I'm forgetting Nebraska. That's the team I'm forgetting. Yeah, I don't care. Screw you, Nebraska.
Yeah, it's hard to say. We'll never know. But
like, the West is not good. It's not.
Yeah. Well, there's been our predictions for this week, man. Game of the week right there for you guys, breaking that down.